All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Nicholas, and I'm from UTS, and I'm from MASCA. And now introduce, this is John Ang. He's from MASCA, and today we're going to talk about what MASCA does and basically what is their purpose.
Yeah. Hi guys. I'm Ang, and I'm the Corporate Relations Director of MASCA. So basically, MASCA is the short form for the Malaysian Student Council of Australia. We are the peak Malaysian student representative body in Australia, and we have 7 regional chapters, 6 states and 1 territory. And so we're like an umbrella body amongst all the Malaysian students. Let's say for NSW, we're the umbrella body for all the Malaysian student organizations in New South Wales. So basically what we do is we spearhead collaborations and amongst all the Malaysian student organizations, and also we take care of the general welfare of all the students here. So we have our own initiatives which are tailored on a professional level and also towards the welfare and education of students. And such initiatives include the Sydney Malaysian Games, which is an annual sports event which comprises of sports which are frequently played by Malaysians, such as futsal, badminton, basketball, volleyball, and so on. Also, we have an annual think tank case study competition, which we do invite corporate judges to come and attend, and have also corporate representatives who are seeking for potential interns and so on in the future. Also, we do have an initiative within the sponsorship portfolio, which is the privileges card. Students can basically present the card to selected partners and get a discount when they are visiting those chains. And also for the education portfolio, annually we do organize workshops, and also, if possible, have career fairs partnered with some of the corporates. And as well, for our welfare portfolio, we do have an initiative called Kuala, which includes airport pickup service for students who have just arrived in Australia, and also a mentor-mentee program, which we are partnered with with the Malaysian student organizations from the universities here. Also, MSW NSW and SWAM's USIT have their own mentor-mentee program. What MASCA does is that we direct applicants to them, and they will settle it from there. On the national, we also do have a new initiative which we will be starting next year under the cultural portfolio, where students who are interested in performing arts like band and dances are given the opportunity to showcase their talents for various Malaysian student organizations events. And for more information, you can definitely check out our website. And on our national level, we do have a mental health website, which is a medium for students to basically raise awareness on the mental health issues. And also we do have a website called Kopi Talk. It's a forum which acts as a platform for students to express their lifestyle in Australia, how it's been for them here. So yeah, that's basically a general summary of what MASCA NSW does.
All right. Thank you, John. Do you have any words of advice for students coming from MASCA?
Students, sorry, you mean students coming for?
Yeah, coming to Australia.
To Australia?
Sydney.
I would say basically do attend events and join on initiatives organized by MASCA ourselves, and also all the Malaysian student organizations from all the universities. Do not seclude yourself within your own circle, because to be honest, that is an unintentional habit by Malaysians, who are more introverted. Come to Australia, many Malaysian students on their first year do not mix around with other Malaysians, or more importantly with locals. And I think that's definitely something that should be done by Malaysians who come to Australia.
All right. Thank you, John. Is there any other? If you guys have any questions for John, please do ask it in our live stream. Okay. If there are no moment, please we do have a Q&A session later on that you can ask him again. And thank you, John, for your time. And then now we're going to introduce Ellen from MFest, who's going to talk about the Malaysian Festival in Sydney. Okay. Hello, Ellen. So could you please give us a brief summary of what is MFest and what do they do?
Yeah, so Malaysia Fest is basically like the largest entirely student-run festival in the Southern Hemisphere, and we just celebrate Malaysian culture and provide food stores and entertainment to both the local Aussie population as well as students from back in Malaysia who are studying in Sydney. Because we are an entirely student-run organization, we are currently recruiting for director roles and volunteers to help us out before and during the event. So you could help us out in either like the marketing department or the operations department. There are a lot of different roles that could suit you, and yeah. So really, this is like a really good opportunity to socialize and meet students from other universities that you wouldn't necessarily meet outside, because there's not many events where you would meet people from, say, Wollongong or Newcastle if you go to UNSW or USIT. So it's a really great time to meet other students, and it's also a very good opportunity for you to, spruce up your resume, because it is a very big festival and being part of the organization team would look really impressive. So if you wanted to be part of the directors or be part of the volunteers, then just keep an eye out on our Facebook page, which is MFest, or if you can't find it, we're actually co-hosting the Facebook event page of this seminar on Facebook, so you could go into there, which will link you to Malaysia Fest. So just bookmark it and keep an eye on it, because the form for recruitment will be coming out in the next few weeks.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Now I'm going to talk about traveling in Sydney during holidays, Sydney and New South Wales. So, what recommendations can you give to students that want to travel around Australia during their holidays?
So Australia is a really great country, which has like a lot of different diverse places that you can visit depending on what you want to see. So for scenery, like a recommendation that I would suggest would be going to Tasmania, which is a state, but it's also an island at the bottom of Australia. Tasmania has like a lot of mountains, a lot of rivers and lakes, and it's very gorgeous. On the other hand, you could go overseas to New Zealand, which is about a 4-hour flight away, which is very similar to Tasmania. You could, if you wanted to see like beaches or like the coast, you could go to Wollongong, which is only an hour's drive from Sydney, or you could go take a flight to the Gold Coast, which is in the Queensland state, which is really, really famous for its surfing. You could also go to a smaller kind of hub like Byron Bay or Port Macquarie. If you wanted to, I guess, look at the bush or go to the outback, you could go to the Blue Mountains, which is about a 2-hour drive from the Sydney CBD, which has like a lot of bushwalking trails and canyons. Or if you wanted to be really adventurous, you could go to Uluru, which is a very big rock in the middle of Australia, which is very far, but it's a very spiritual experience. So I think for the sorry.
All right. So in terms of traveling, how easy is it to travel to those places that you mentioned?
Yeah. So most of the places that I mentioned, you would probably need to take a flight there, since Australia is quite big, so all of the destinations are quite far from Sydney. So for domestic flights, you'll probably be looking at either Tiger Air or Jetstar. Tiger Air is very infamous for not having great customer service, but it is definitely one of the cheapest domestic airlines you could take in Australia, or you could also use Jetstar, which is slightly more expensive. When you're at your destination, you could use rental cars to get around, which is, but I think the best option for international students is using a company called GoGet, which is basically like an Uber, but for cars, for driving cars. So you have to sign up for a membership, and you'll get a card and you can book a car to use. But the downside of that is that you will need to pay for the membership fee as well as paying for the actual use of the car. Otherwise, you could use just a normal rental company, which is more expensive, but there is no membership fee, so it's just a one-off rental. But the downside is that, first of all, most of the rental car companies in New South Wales will only allow you to hire if you're over 25, or in special circumstances over 21 years old, and you also need a full license. So they don't allow provisional licenses.
All right. In terms of cost, it is expensive to travel around Sydney?
It really depends on the destination that you're going to and the kind of accommodation that you use. So of course, if you're going to a hotel, then it will be a lot more expensive, but there is Airbnb in all around Australia. There's also a lesser known site called Stays with a Z, which it's actually, like in my experience, I found cheaper accommodation there, but really you could just use the both and compare. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course it just depends on the location itself. So if you were going to the Gold Coast, because it's such a internationally renowned tourist location, it's going to be a lot more expensive than perhaps going to Byron Bay, which is usually only known to like locals.
All right. I think we have a question for MFest. What kind of stalls do you have at MFest? So
we have both food stores and general stores. So food stores is the main attraction. We have different restaurants from around Sydney coming in, setting up a store and just selling food of all sorts. So you have like dessert, and you have like mains, you have finger food, you have food from like different regions of Malaysia, because this is such a wide range. And general stores, it really depends. So some of them, they sell like products from Malaysia, such as like really difficult to find instant noodles, like the Penang white curry mee or something in Sydney. And there's also a very famous durian store that comes, and they have free durian tasting usually every time there's a Malaysia Fest on.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else you'd like to say to the audience about NFest or traveling around Sydney?
No, not really. Just keep an eye out on the MFest page and have fun when you come to Sydney, because it's really lovely here. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you. So now we're going to introduce Matthew from University of Sydney, SWAMS. He's going to talk about the Malaysian organisation in USyd. Hi, Matthew.
Hi, Nick. So I'm Matthew. I'm from the University of Sydney, and I'm representing the Sydney University Malaysian Association of Students in USyd.
Yeah. So can you talk about, in terms of accommodation, what kind of accommodation are available around University of Sydney?
So at the university itself, there are university-owned colleges, and so they're both self-catered and also catered colleges. These range from about $400 to $600 per week. The demographics of these colleges are mostly Australians, and they don't take that many international students, so that's something to keep in mind. In terms of convenience, these are obviously the most convenient accommodation that you can get, because as they are on campus, your furthest class, if you stay on campus, will be at the most a 10 to 15-minute walk. But other than that, there are also a lot of available options outside of campus as well, but close enough that you can also still walk to class. So the actual university location is fairly near the CBD, and as a result, you can rent apartments nearby, but they do get quite expensive. Studio prices range from about $500 to up to $700 or $800, whereas if you had a share house, you can get something from about $300 to $500. All these accommodations are about at most a 30-minute walk to campus, which is still not too bad, but obviously they're all self-catered as you can't get any catered accommodation outside of campus.
All right, thank you. In terms of transportation, is it easy to get around the University of Sydney?
Yeah, so the University of Sydney is near two large train stations. And so as a result, if you do stay outside of the uni, it is quite easy to catch a train in. There's only about a 15-minute walk from the nearest train station at any point in the uni. Aside from this, there are a lot of bus stops around the uni, and these bus stops send buses to all around the west as well as to the CBD as well. And also there are quite a lot of go-gets, as Ellen was talking about, scattered around the uni.
All right. So in terms of places to eat, are there lots of places to eat around UC?
Yeah, so in campus itself, there are quite a lot of places to eat. And if you're a member of the student union, you actually do get 15% off as well, so that's quite good. In terms of off-campus food, there's a lot of Asian food around the university. In Newtown, there's a lot of Thai food, and the university is about a 15-minute bus ride to Chinatown, where there's a lot of Asian food. One thing to note, however, is that a lot of these places only accept cash. And so while it is very common for people in Sydney not to carry cash around, it's just you have to be mindful when you're going out, especially near uni in Chinatown, because a lot of these places only accept cash.
All right. So in terms of those people who would like to cook their own food, are there many grocery stores around available?
Yeah, so there is a Coles and a Woolworths that are at maximum a 5-minute bus ride or a 20-minute walk away from most places most accommodation in the university. Obviously, if you stay further away from the university, it depends on where you're staying. But overall, in Sydney, there are quite a lot of grocery stores scattered about. Aside from this, deliveries are usually very good, and it's quite easy to get your groceries delivered if you don't want to go to a grocery store.
All right. So in terms of banks, if they do live near uni, are there multiple banks around?
Yeah, so the 4 biggest banks in Australia, NAB, Commonwealth Bank, ANZ, and Westpac, all have branches either at the university itself or near enough, at the most a 10-minute walk away. Aside from this, there are also a lot of ATMs scattered around the uni, so it's quite easy to get cash if you need it.
All right. Then would you like to tell the audience anything about the Malaysian organization in University of Sydney?
Yeah, so I think one thing to note about our organization is that we operate slightly differently, in which we operate under the University Student Union instead of under the university itself. So as a result, this does mean that you have to be a member of the student union before you be a member of our organization, which does incur additional costs. However, the benefit of this is that we get a lot of funding from the student union, and this means that a lot of our events are either free or very, very cheap for members to attend. The way that the University of Sydney works is that all the clubs of the university are all under the student union. So it's not just our club. If you have a membership to the student union, you do get access to every single club, and you do get all the funding benefits.
Okay. In terms of events, what kind of events or what range of events does your organization carry out?
So our most prominent events are usually eating events where we cater Malaysian food, and we usually have stalls and performances with traditional Malaysian games. So our biggest event is Mamak Night that happens around March, and it's all our events that are well attended. It's basically just sitting there and eating and remembering how Malaysian food tastes like.
All right. Is there anything else you would like to tell the audience?
No, not really.
All right. If you guys have any questions, please do ask. If not now, we can reply them during our Q&A. If not, thank you, Matthew, for your time.
Thank you, Nick.
All right. Now we are going to introduce Sheng Wong, who's from UTS. And he's going to talk about MASCA, which is the Malaysian student organization within UTS. Hello, Sheng.
Hello. So I'm Shen. I'm from the University of Technology, Sydney, and I'm the president of the Malaysian and Singaporean Students Association.
All right. Could you give us a brief summary of the accommodation, transportation around University of Technology, Sydney?
Yeah. As the University of Technology, Sydney is in close proximity with the University of Sydney, there is a little bit of overlap, but UTS offers internal housing services, which approximately are about 5 to 15 minutes walk away from the various university buildings. They cost approximately around $250 to $450 depending on your per week, depending on your preference of studio apartments or sharing. You also have UTS also has a system where it has external relationships with other housing services in which UTS students have a priority in booking long-term accommodation.
Right. And then in terms of transportation, is it convenient getting around the uni? Is it convenient getting to uni?
If you stay on site at university, it's at most 15 minutes walking to the various buildings where your classes are. If you choose to stay away from the city, the buildings at UTS are about 5 to 10 minutes walk away from the main train station.
All right. Is there anything you would like to tell the audience about studying in UTS?
I guess what you need to realize is it's a fun place, obviously, and it can be a bit daunting at first because coming from I don't really know how to describe it because I'm a local student, but people tend to keep to themselves in the beginning, and the best way to meet more people is go to your tutorials. That's the best place to meet people, to socialize, and also clubs as well.
So can you tell us more about the Malaysian Student Organization within your uni?
Okay, so we are the Malaysian and Singaporean Students Association. So we merged because the Singaporean society at UTS was a bit small, and we basically hold similar events to the University of Sydney. So we mostly have food events, and we also have excursions around the city, such as visiting places that may interest our members.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Not really at the moment, no.
Okay, all right then. Thank you for your time, Sheng.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to introduce Daryl, who's from the University of New South Wales, and he's going to talk about the Malaysian Student Organization there as well. So, welcome, Daryl.
Hi. Right, hi guys. My name is Daryl, and I'm the liaison director of MSO UNSW. A little bit about myself. I'm a second-year student majoring in accounting and marketing, and I've been in MSO since the beginning of this year. So, how MSO in UNSW functions is that it's a social, cultural, and a non-profit organization for Malaysian students in UNSW, and it has been successful in actually helping students, like newly arrived students, to actually transition into this uni life, and making it feel like as though like it's a comfortable place for them to be in. Because like I know for most of you guys coming here, it might be quite scary at first. So by joining MSO, I think you guys would be able to actually, be comfortable around, I would say like just us Malaysians, because I think we are pretty welcoming as a community. Yeah.
All right. So in terms of accommodation around UNSW, are there any recommendations or any advice you would like to give?
Right. Because UNSW is located in the suburbs, so you actually have like unlimited choice of unlimited choices of accommodation if you were looking either in like on campus or like out of campus as well. For on campus accommodations, we have like plenty of colleges inside like Warren or like UNSW Village, and we have like, if you want someone like, I guess there are catered accommodations and also non-catered accommodations. So like, and the price ranges between maybe $300 to maybe $500 a week, depending on what type of accommodation you get. And for accommodation out of campus, I think you can actually get pretty cheap prices, ranging from $200 to maybe $350 a week. So staying off campus is actually cheaper, but in terms of like convenience, I think living on campus would be much easier. Yeah.
All right. So from your personal experience, would you recommend first-year students to stay off campus or on campus?
Well, actually, if you stay off campus as well, it doesn't really matter, because it's a suburbs area anyway, so there are a lot of houses and like apartments near UNSW. So it really depends on like whether or not you're going for like a budget kind of accommodation, or maybe you prefer a very convenient place to stay in. So it's really up to you guys anyway in the end. And to talk more about MSO, something unique about MSO UNSW is that we offer a lifetime membership fee of only $10, and we have the highest amount of Malaysian students in New South Wales. So I don't think you have you have any trouble finding any Malaysians in uni. Yeah.
Right.
One
So-
of the sorry.
Yeah, you continue.
Okay. One of the good things about UNSW is that I guess we have events like every week, sometimes even twice a week. So yeah, MSO is pretty active in uni. So if you guys are ever free, maybe you guys can come down to join our events, because I feel like it's quite fun as well, and you get to know a lot of people. Yeah.
All right. So in terms of transporting to uni, I know if you do stay in the suburbs, you can walk to uni. But in terms of traveling to the city or traveling around New South Wales, how convenient is it around New South Wales?
So the thing is, we do not actually have easy access to any trains around UNSW, but we do have very, very easy access to all the buses, because most of the buses will pass UNSW to go to all the places like City or like maybe to Bondi Junction and stuff like that. So I don't see a problem why I don't think you have any problems moving around UNSW to anywhere.
Mm-hmm. All right. Then in terms of places to eat, are there a lot of places to eat around UNSW?
Yes, there's actually plenty of places to eat around UNSW, and it's mostly Asian food, because I guess UNSW is pretty packed with Chinese people, so yeah, I think you get pretty a lot of Asian food. Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to tell your audience?
No, not really. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay,
Okay,
then.
right.
You guys have any questions, please do ask. If then Daryl can ask it during the Q&A. All right, thank you, Daryl.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to introduce Nick, which is from the University of Macquarie. And she will also talk about what MSA, the Malaysian organization in Macquarie, does. Hello.
Hello, Nick. So,
Yeah. So
my name is Nick Amira from Macquarie University. We'll be representing Malaysian Student Association from Macquarie.
all right. So first, Nick, can you tell us about the accommodation and transportation around Macquarie?
Cool. So, if you go onto Macquarie Uni's website, they have a lot of accommodations listed. So firstly, like the university's accommodations, the weekly room rates would range from $180 up to $650, and there are 7 options listed on the website. And depending on the room types, you can have meals fully catered to, and also like 1 meal per day or none. And then there's also a uni's private accommodation website where you can choose your own to your likings, like what kind of room you want, or a house or a unit, and you can set up your own budget to that. And there's also an option for under 18-year-old students, so they have to live with they can be adopted to Australian families, so there are homestay options listed as well. And Macquarie Uni also provided airport pickup service. It is free of charge for the students, but there will be additional fees for your guests, probably your family members. And for your family members, if they're coming along, or if you have your own guests, there are temporary accommodations listed as well for them. You can go through the website. The website are pretty much accessible and easy to navigate.
Mm-hmm. All right. So can you tell us more about Macquarie's Malaysian Student Organization?
So Macquarie, Malaysian Student Association is a student organization that we intend on providing number of services, and we organize social events for the members to have a friendly community environment for all Malaysians in Macquarie. And then we as the committee members are more than willing to help any Malaysian students in need, and we will have numerous events throughout the whole semester, so feel free to join and make some time, and you'll make more friends around Macquarie.
All right. In terms of convenience in Macquarie, because I know Macquarie is quite distant from the city, So in terms of places to eat and groceries, is it convenient?
Yes, it's fairly convenient because we have a frequent buses, and we have a lot of like nearby suburbs, like we have Chatswood, Epping, Eastwood, and Top Right. Not sure why it's that, but and the buses are frequent and quite efficient too. And earlier they have mentioned transportation apps. You can easily get through that as well. And then you can go to groceries for like around Eastwood, or we also have our own shopping center called Macquarie Center, which is 10 minutes walk from the uni. And yeah, there's a lot of options from there.
All right. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Not so much, but just like on behalf of MSA 2018 and 2019 committee, I would like to warmly welcome all of new Malaysian students that are coming to Macquarie and across New South Wales, and make sure to join our events and see us there.
All right. Thank you, Nick.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. Now we're going to introduce John Ma, who's from the University of Wollongong.
Hello.
Hello, John.
Hi. Hi guys, I'm John Ma. I was the former president of MASCA UOW, the Malaysian Association of Students UOW, and currently cultural director of MASCA.
All right. So, John, can you tell us more about Wollongong? In terms of how easy is it to get to Wollongong, to get to the city, and in terms of accommodation around Wollongong, is it cheap?
I would say that going around Wollongong is easy because there's already the free bus compared to Sydney. It's easy to get anywhere, especially like, for example, if you want to walk from your place to the beach, it's probably about 15 to 20 minutes. To university from the city would be a 15-minute bus ride from the free bus. There's 55A and 55C. Grocery-wise, most of the grocery marts are everywhere from Ferry Meadow, which is one side of University of Wollongong, and the other side will be the city. And also on Thursdays, there is a food stall where there'll be a row of food stalls. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the people about Wollongong?
I would say that Wollongong is very different from all the other places from Sydney. It's simply because I guess it's more somewhat accommodated to people who prefer nature stuff, I guess. Like opposite University of Wollongong is the Botanic Garden itself, and if you like a really strong university environment, I say University of Wollongong is a place for you.
All right. In terms of distance, how far is Wollongong from the city, and how long would it take to travel to Wollongong from the airport?
From the airport. So first off, city to University of Wollongong would be 15 minutes, and then from the airport. So you have to take a train from either Wollongong Station or North Wollongong Station, and that would be about close to an hour and a half. So it's long. It's about nearly the same going to the city as well. So it's gonna be a trip back and forth, and the train is about every hour to get to Wollongong, and from Wollongong to the city.
All right, thank you, John. So now, can you tell us more about the Malaysian organization in Wollongong?
The Malaysian Association in Wollongong is, I would say, definitely smaller than all the other Malaysian associations, but there's this sense of warmness because you know everyone. If you know this person, if you know person A, you know person B, and then you know person C, you basically know everyone there because it's the amount of Malaysian students in University of Wollongong itself is pretty small, and it's easy to know everyone. So
okay, all right, thanks, John. So Anyway, question. What's the difference between Wollongong City and Sydney City?
Wollongong City and Sydney City. I would say Wollongong City is not as bustling. I would say it's smaller for sure, and from the city to the beach or so, it's kind of like close by. I would say that the city is just there's limited things to do in Wollongong City. That's what I would mention. There's not really much you can do, because there's like certain things like shopping, and then there is a few food shops as well. I wouldn't say that there's much compared to Sydney.
Okay, all right. So is there anything you would like to tell the audience about Wollongong or about MASCA UW?
So MASCA UW is so MASCA UW, the student membership is 10 per semester, but 15 per year, and they have a lot of amazing stuff, such as the meet and greet will be coming up in March, and then they have the Ohana Day, the annual Ohana Day, every August. There is also the annual Mount Kira hike, which is around May, I believe, and there's a lot of things nature-wise you could do in Wollongong, because there is, aside from Mount Kira hike, there is also a sea cliff where you could see the beautiful ocean from one hill, and then there's also the Wedding Cake Rock, which is pretty interesting from because the rock structure is designed as like a cake, and then there's also the Kaima Blowhole, which is another hour down from Wollongong, which is one of the few attractions that Sydney people would come down to Wollongong for. So they'll get a rental car and just drive around Wollongong area.
All right, thanks, John. So is there anything else you would like to tell the audience?
Anything else? So I guess I would give my 2 cents about since you guys are coming over to Sydney or Wollongong, I would say take every opportunity you can find here. You know, like don't close one eye on anything. Like open your eyes to anything you can find here. For example, like my first year was terrible just because like I was homesick and all, but eventually I've somewhat found home and opportunities being with MASCA, being able to perform in a band, and being president of MASCA UW, and now being cultural director, join ART, because we are providing opportunities there for performing arts. If you love band, music, magic, and photography as well, we could do music videos, which happened this year. And yeah, so if you're interested in performing arts, basically join ART. You can find that on MASCA Facebook page.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, John. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys.
All right. So now we're going to introduce Jasmine, who's from the University of Newcastle, and she's going to talk about what's life in Newcastle as well as the Malaysian organization there.
Hi, Nick.
Hello, Jasmine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jasmine, president of MUNSA, which is the Malaysian Society in the University of Newcastle, or UN. To tell you a little bit about myself, I'm from Kuala Lumpur. I have been studying in UN for close to 2 years now. I'm currently in my second year of my bachelor's degree in occupational therapy, and I'm studying at the main campus, which is the Callahan campus. So before I get on to talking about our society, I'll let you all know a bit more about Newcastle. Newcastle, or as we like to call it, Newey, it's a really lovely city. It's approximately a 3-hour train ride north from Sydney. It's the second oldest city and the 7th largest city in Australia. Arguably home to some of the nicest looking beaches in New South Wales. It's pretty accessible to go around Newey with public transport. So there's buses, trains, and next year the light rail service is opening up in the CBD area, the city area, and it'll take you straight from the CBD area to the beaches, which is not too far. And on Sundays, I don't think it's mentioned yet, it's $270 for the whole day to travel around New South Wales, so it's really cheap, yeah. But in my opinion, still driving around Newcastle is the most convenient option. Yeah, in terms of accommodation, so I was living on campus for these past 2 years, and it's been really convenient, I would say. It's about $230 for a 6 share at one of the on-campus accommodations, and it's around that price, I would say, on average, in around the on-campus accommodations. Yeah, so to add on to what Reese mentioned before, I have actually had friends who've only gotten offers to stay on campus only a few weeks after coming over to uni. So I wouldn't actually say that your accommodation would be like completely secured. So if you do choose, but if you do choose to stay on campus, it's still like really convenient and things. So yeah, and staying off campus is quite convenient as well. There are suburbs around, which are Waratah West, North Lambton, Birmingham Gardens, and Jasmine, if not mistaken. They're the nearest suburbs around uni and the main campus, and it's pretty convenient to stay around there. Yeah, and although Newcastle isn't necessarily like doesn't have the busy city vibes like Sydney does. There's still quite a bit of things to do in and around the city. So there's visiting beaches that I mentioned. There's cafe hopping. Hunter Valley is about a 45-minute drive away from Newcastle, and that's where the wineries are, and that's where you can have wine tasting as well. There's also a place called Port Stephens, which isn't too far away as well. That's where you can really like engage in quite a lot of activities such as sandboarding and whale watching and dolphin watching, things like that. Yeah. So in terms of our uni itself, I would say it's a very the main campus. It's a very tranquil and peaceful area. When you're walking around the main campus, it's mostly like a forest, so you're kind of like jungle trekking while you're on your way to class. There are lots of accessibilities around uni, such as there's 2 main bus stations. There's 1 train station on campus as well. There's a few convenience stores, and one of them can provide you with the Opal card when you first get here. There's a Combank on campus, so the bank, and there's 1 or 2 student services buildings in case you need any help with all your uni stuff, to settle all your uni documents and things like that. There's also a medical clinic on the site, which you can get most of your vaccinations done if you need it for your course. And there's also another campus in Newcastle, which is the city campus, and if not mistaken, that's where the classes under the business courses are held, and it's also a very beautifully designed campus. So I'll just talk about Munsa.
Yeah, all good.
So we were only established in 2016, our Malaysian society. We're focused on actually not just building our Malaysian community in Newcastle within the uni, but we're also very inviting to people who come from different cultures and backgrounds. That's because we're all very like inclusive of each other, and we want to make sure that everyone has we can give a sense of belonging and community to our friends and around different countries, from different countries, and through involving all our different nationalities as well, we get to we allow ourselves as Malaysians to share our culture as well and learn more about other people's cultures. And so our membership fee this year was $30, which may seem a lot at first. But we did have complimentary merchandise such as our club t-shirts, bottles, things like that. We had discounts at several Malaysian restaurants in Newcastle. Most importantly, we had lots of fun events. For example, the big ones were a huge welcoming party. We had a talent night as well, and a prom night, sort of. We've also had some small events, such as paintball sessions, stressless sessions, which are like board game sessions and movie nights. We've had monthly captain ball as well, and we're hoping to ramp up our small events for the next year.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jasmine. I think we had a question before for someone coming to Newcastle studying medicine.
Yeah.
And she asked that, is there anything that they have to prepare?
Yeah. So, I've just asked one of my friends about this. I think that you have to make sure you have your vaccination records, your most recent vaccination records, if you do have some. If not, the uni will cover all the vaccinations for you, so you'll get a card, and I think getting a blood test is free, but vaccinations aren't necessarily free, but you know, like, it's kind of the price that you have to pay for medicine and the other health science courses. Some of my friends mentioned that textbooks in KL are cheaper, and if you want to bring that extra weight, then sure. But if not, then you can just sort it out here. And yeah, I think stethoscopes as well are cheaper in KL, so you should get it in KL before you come over. And most importantly, check the email sent by the Faculty of Medicine. I think they mentioned that you need like the Malaysian police check. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Jasmine.
That's about it.
So is there anything else you would like to tell the audience about Newcastle or Munsa?
Yeah, check out our Facebook page. Just type MUNSA or Malaysians of UON, and we also have an Instagram account that we just opened up. It's called, I think, Munsa_UON or UN_Munsa. But yeah, just check it out. Yeah.
All right. Is that?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Jasmine, for your time.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to our Q&A session. If you do have any questions, just ask it in right now. And now I'd like to call back Reese so he can answer a few of the questions. All right.
Hello, back again.
Hello, Reese. Thank you for your time.
Somewhat unexpectedly, but that's all right. Let's do this.
Yeah, all right. I think a few questions was that what OSHC will get them?
All right, so because I'm not a provider of insurance and I don't want to give legal advice, even though I am a lawyer, I'm not going to give you legal advice. Your OSHC is compulsory. I noticed on one of the questions there that there was a question about Medicare with a question mark. The answer is no. There's no Medicare for international students, but that's what your OSHC is for. My advice is, so if you don't know what your OSHC is, that's basically the medical insurance that certain insurers provide you, which is compulsory for you to have before you come to Australia. It's like Medicare, but not as good. That's just the one way that I can put it. So it will cover most general things like doctor's appointments. You need to make sure that your OSHC covers all the appropriate pharmaceutical benefits and emergency care. I would say if you're in a country and you're not covered by their medical system, my advice always is to pay for as much as you can. So you may think you'll be saving some dollars by not adding on a few extras, but if something bad happens, like God forbid you get like a terrible illness and get struck down, and it's not covered by your OSHC, you and your family are going to be in for a lot of money. So my advice is whatever insurance package you choose, I would make sure that it covers as much as you possibly can.
All right. Other than that, I think we have a few questions about if Malaysian students do come here and if they go to a bar or any clubs, do they need, what kind of ID do they need? Would their IC be suffice, or do they still need to bring their passport?
I was talking about getting a general age identification earlier. So your passport will work. I would look at getting something official from the RMS. So it's well worth your time to go in there to get some recognised ID, because you don't want to be in the instant where you go out with your friends, you're about to go to a pub or a club and have some fun, and you're confronted by a doorman who may not be familiar with all the who may not be as familiar with some of the ID that you have on you. So if you give them something which they know, which they can recognise, that's the best option. But like I said before, I wouldn't. Well, when I'm overseas, I don't like taking my passport everywhere.
All right.
Because I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
So go and get yourself a general ID from the RMS as a proof of age. It's essentially a proof of age card.
All right. In terms of the card, how much does the card cost, or is it free?
That's a great question. That's a great question. It is. I've got people signalling at me here. It's about $50. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
I was confused because I had people signalling different prices at me. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Then another question is that in terms of opening hours of stores in the New South Wales, roughly what time do the stores close? Because in Malaysia, the stores still open till like 10 p.m.
Yeah, Australia's really boring, like that. So, you know, coming from Malaysia and all the places in Southeast Asia, it's all bustling, it's all happening, it's open.
Yeah.
People will come here, and if you're in the city, they get a shock because all of a sudden they want to go out and, you know, maybe go and buy some clothes on a Saturday, especially, and the shop might be shut at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. Some businesses close at 5. We have fairly good and strong labour laws here, so if people work past certain hours, their employers have to pay them some more pay, so it becomes a bit restrictive, and there's also some laws about opening and closing times as well.
What about supermarkets? Do they close at the same time?
Sorry, store markets?
Supermarkets.
Oh, supermarket. No. So supermarkets are generally open, I want to say 10. They're generally open till about 10 p.m. at night.
All right. I think another question about traveling before, about budget airlines. They ask, what budget airlines are there?
Budget. Okay, so
Australia.
So you might get a shock when you come to Australia. There's not a huge... Travel by air can be quite expensive. It just happens to all of us. So the best way to do it is whatever airline you're going for, you'll generally be able to get a really good deal, whether they're considered to be budget airlines or not budget, if you book in advance, like well in advance. So the more you plan, the cheaper it can be. So for instance, if you're booking last minute during a peak holiday time, say if you're going to a place like, I don't know, if you're flying out to a beautiful regional area like Coffs Harbour, then you may get hit with $400 to $500 for one way, or even more. Sometimes it's 6 to 7. But if you book in advance, you might be able to get that same ticket for anywhere between $99 to $120. So.
All right. So another question about Nadine asking, how reliable is the public transport in New South Wales?
Excuse me. Across New South Wales, that's too broad a question because each little area has their own public transport. So, but if you're talking about Sydney, so look, it's okay. It's okay. It's not the best. It's not the worst. It's generally pretty good.
All right. All right, thanks, Chris. I think that's all the general questions. I think some of the questions now are for the MSOs.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I think I'm being signalled to say that there's a deal which I've forgotten to mention, which is my fault completely. But there's a deal with Malaysia Airlines for people who are looking to come across. Are you aware of this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you guys advertise these
no,
deals?
not yet. Sorry. Yeah. We can make a post later on the event page, but basically I think it's MASCA Airlines is offering a member card, right, which gives you some privileges to students.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I can take you through it, but I do have someone who wants to jump up here. But I'll just quickly go through it now, because if you're coming to a new country, I think it's important that if you can save costs, the more the better. And most people, I believe, will be flying out of Malaysia via Malaysian Airlines, because, well, why wouldn't you? I'm just trying to find it, so just bear with me for a moment.
It's all good. Thank you.
Sorry, this is what happens when you get these things sprung on you at times, but that's okay. I'm happy for the experience. Downloaded, yes. Oh, thank you. Yes, so there's a deal here with Malaysia Airlines. It's worth looking at. For some reason, it's taking a little bit too long to load, but I think what we can and should do is on someone's page, I think we should definitely post it.
Yeah.
Well, can we say that you'll post it on your page? Is that the easiest page?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can post it on MASCA's page.
Yes. Excellent. So that'll be up on MASCA's page.
Yeah.
Well worth having a look at, because it's a great deal if you want to book and come over here via Malaysia Airlines.
Yeah, I think we can help share it on the event page as well. I think most people who click going to the event would get notified about it.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think now we'll switch to Daryl, who can answer some of the MSO's questions. Hi, Daryl.
Hi.
Welcome back. Yeah, I think we have a question about sports.
Okay.
It's like, how huge is sports in basically in the Malaysian community, playing futsal, badminton?
Sports is actually a very, very big thing in all the Malaysian societies around NSW, because I think Malaysians are pretty competitive when it comes to sports such as futsal or maybe badminton. And if what I can say about MSO UNSW is that we have weekly sports, and it ranges from like many different sports such as volleyball, futsal, badminton, and stuff like that. And you don't have to worry coming here. If you're afraid like you won't be able to play sports, you don't have to worry about that, because we have a lot of sports competitions such as SMG and stuff like that. And yeah, I think you will be able to play sports here.
All right, thank you, Daryl. And also, there's someone asking about if they do not want to stay on campus at UNSW, what other kinds of accommodation can they take?
Like I said earlier on just now, if you don't want to, wait, sorry, what was the question again?
Yeah, so basically, what other types of accommodation off campus are there?
Off campus?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are some colleges that are not actually under the university, but it's like right in opposite of UNSW. I think it's called, I'm not so sure what's it called, but you can actually go onto this website and actually search for search under the tab of off-campus accommodation, and I think there will be some links for you to actually search about all this.
Okay, all right. Then in terms of on-campus accommodation, how many types of on-campus accommodation does UNSW have?
Oh, there are actually a lot. If you guys are interested in going to their website and checking it out, we have UNSW Village. That's the most common one, and I feel it's the cheapest one compared to all the other colleges. Then you have Waron, which is boys' college. You have New College. You have International House. It's something like that, right? Yeah. Okay. And you have Colombo House, which is the which is nice, but it's slightly pricey, yeah, for students to stay in. Yeah.
All right, I think you have another question about doing part-time. Yeah, so briefly, how easy is it to find part-time jobs, or how easy is it to do part-time in New South Wales?
Well, it really depends on what kind of part-time jobs you guys are looking for. If you guys are looking maybe for like working part-time at a restaurant, it'll be pretty easy because most of our uni portals, they actually advertise like some job openings from time to time. So you guys can definitely check that out. Because personally, I found my own job through the uni portal, so it was really good. Yeah, and because we are international students, we are actually restricted to a certain amount of hours that we can work per fortnightly. For us international students, we can only work up to a maximum of 40 hours, and we cannot exceed that, because if we exceed that, I think our visa might be revoked. Yeah, and when it comes to minimum wage, you can. I think it depends. The minimum wage will depend on how old you are, but I think the lowest wage you can earn, I think, is $19. I think $20. Yeah, 17. Yeah, 17. Yeah,
17.
Yeah.
All right. So now I think we got one more question about UNSW, about them switching to trimesters. So what will the difference between trimesters and?
So basically, I think because next year UNSW goes into a trimester, usually traditionally we have 2 semesters in a year, which consists of like maybe taking 4 subjects per semester. But since there will be a trimester coming up next year, what we'll do basically, we'll split it into 3 semesters, and each semester we can either take 3 subjects or 2 subjects. So it'd be like 3-2-3 or like 3-3-2, or like you can even take 3 subjects each semester, and it really depends on you. Yeah.
All right. All right. I think that's all. Thanks, Sarah. I think now we're gonna call Ellen, who's gonna help answer a few other questions.
Hello.
Hello, welcome back in.
Thank you.
All right, I think we have a few questions. Is that in terms of traveling around Sydney, in Malaysia they have GrabCar. Is that available in Sydney?
As far as I know, there is no Grab in Sydney. The main like rideshare company that we use is Uber, and Uber is usually available like everywhere. So it's very convenient, and it's probably very safe because it goes through those safety checks before you can apply.
Right. And then in terms of traveling with taxi, are they reliable? Because in Malaysia, I think it's quite controversial about that.
Yeah. So, well, I know that whenever I go back to Malaysia, my relatives always warn me not to take taxis. Sydney taxis are a lot more reliable, and they generally do not rip you off. So taxis, usually you actually have to pay through a app that is regulated, and not by taxis themselves, not by the individual taxis themselves, but like proper companies. And so taxis, they will not rip you off, and it's generally very safe to travel by taxis. Yeah.
All right. Then in terms of accommodation, someone asking about, is it safe to live off campus?
Well, I think I'm not the best person to ask for that because I live quite far from my university. As far as I know, it's very safe to live close to university because there's usually like a very big nightlife or a lot of restaurants near university. So if you live near that, then it's usually very safe because there's a lot of pedestrians walking about even late at night.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Ellen.
Thank you.
I think that's all the questions we have. But I think that there's one more question. Just give me 1 second. We can call Jonathan Ang, who's going to help answer the question. He's from MASCA. Welcome back, Ang. Yeah, so I think someone's asking about how can they join MASCA. Could you give them a brief info about that?
So basically every year around October, MASCA has its annual general meeting, which appoints our directors and also our execs to join the committee. But as of now, MASCA has only one vacant position, which is our creative director. For those who wish to learn and explore the other portfolios from in MASCA, such as we have the corporate relations, liaison, create marketing, welfare, education, and so on. We do have an officer program, which will happen around the beginning of around the first semester, around March and April. So that is definitely a platform where students can join as an officer to learn from the directors. Then after that, for the next term and so on, they could run for the annual general meeting.
All right. Yeah. So what about joining other MSOs in general? Will it differ from joining MASCA?
I guess joining any organization is a great platform for you to learn, but MASCA, it also depends on what the organization's goals and missions are about. MASCA is basically representing all the Malaysian students across the whole state of New South Wales, and so we take our initiatives and events on a more professional level, like I've mentioned earlier. So definitely it will be different. Maybe for the Malaysian student organizations from the universities, it will be slightly more relaxed, but for MASCA itself, we do have a lot of events at a professional level.
Yeah. Right. All right. So how can they join an MSO at their uni?
I guess the process is, you mean as a committee member or as
I think for both. So as a member and as a committee.
Okay, definitely. For members, okay, I'm a member of the Malaysian Student Organization in UNSW. It's easy. You just have to go approach them on orientation week, and definitely they'll show you the guidelines on how to sign up as a member. It's a very easy process. But as committee members, I would say it's about the same as MASCA. Every year, all the Malaysian student organizations and MASCA NSW, we have our AGM, and that is where you run for positions. And so if for the other Malaysian student organizations, some of them may still have any empty positions, you may definitely try to contact them through their website or their Facebook page, and then they will tell you which positions are open or not. Like I said, MASCA NSW and other MSOs do have the officer program, which will happen next year, usually in the middle of next year as well, and definitely that's a good platform to learn.
All right, I think that's all the questions we have now. Thank you,
okay,
John. So now I think we're going to call Michael from UniOK, who's going to talk about the MAS Airlines and the offer that they are giving students. Oh, sorry, we're going to call back Reese from UniOK, who talk about MAS Airline again.
Hello again. So we've dealt with those technical issues, and I can now tell you about the deal, which will, of course, afterwards be posted on the MASCA Facebook page.
Yes.
Excellent, fantastic. So, as stated earlier, Malaysia Airlines allow students who are aged between 18 and 26 the ability to become a MH Explorer member. What this provides you with